everybody, it's Tas. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are building a house, and not just any house. This is Andy's house from Toy Story, his very first house that he lives in, because he actually does move, I believe, at least twice throughout the series. So I went with the very first house because I have total nostalgia for the first Toy Story movie. It came out in 1995, the year that I was born, and I grew up watching it. My mom tells me that I had a little toy Woody that was like a replica of the one from the movie, and I used to carry it with me everywhere. That was like my little icon. So I have a huge spot in my heart for Toy Story, and it's probably my favorite Disney Pixar movie, but I will tell you that I actually have a little bit of a love-hate relationship for Disney, because as I've gotten older, I realized that the creation of Toy Story marked the very first time that Disney mass-produced a film that was not animated, handmade animated. And that is probably a sad moment for me, because from that point forward, Disney largely didn't make movies by just drawing everything by hand. It was a lot of computer animation, computer art. And one of the things that I wanted to go to school for, and actually highly considered doing, was animating for Disney. And I actually love to draw. That's one thing that I don't often talk about or do anything on my channel that would let you know that in any way. But I do love to draw. I am pretty good at it, I would say. It's probably the one thing that I know that I'm good at. Everybody has their skills, and mine is drawing. I love to draw with colored pencil. It's kind of my specialty. And on top of that, I love to draw Disney more than anything in the whole wide world. So in high school and in college, I really struggled with art, because a lot of times you go into class and they say, this is what we're doing. And I really hated being put in a box like that. And I also really hated working with materials that weren't colored pencil. I could do markers, I could do crayons, but the point was that I wanted to work in color. And a lot of times, if you never taken some of the more professional art classes, they prefer for you to do things in a black and white medium. So a lot of oil pastels and charcoal drawings and things like that. And I came out with some really nice artwork, and I'm kind of proud of some of the things. Like, I have this one drawing that I did in high school, and it's a drawing of half of my face and the other half of a real life skeleton. And it was the thing that everybody in the class had to do. Like, I didn't come up with it. But my drawing got picked to win an award, and it was featured in an art gallery and everything, and I still have it. And I love it. I'm glad that I did it, but if I had the choice, I definitely wouldn't have done it. I love to draw in color. And so I hated art class in high school, and I hated the fact that even though I was so interested in art, I knew that even if I was going to go to be a Disney animator, I was going to be working on a computer, and I really hated that. I wanted to sit down and draw by hand. And so the whole point of what I'm trying to get at is that if Toy Story wasn't such a huge success, we might see a little bit more classic Disney animation, and it was a huge success, so it kind of went bye-bye. But I still love the movie. I don't hold anything against it. I just wish that things were a little bit different. I wish that animated movies came out more. I think that I'm not a huge fan of Frozen, but I think that if Frozen had been animated, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more. I just have a huge liking for watching classically animated Disney movies. And the modern ones like Rapunzel and Frozen and Moana, they just don't really excite me as much as some of the other ones do, the older classic ones. So that's my little bit on that. But I came up with this idea because I found a Toy Story bedroom set on, I think, Pinterest. And Pinterest is a really good place to go and look for Sims 4 content if you kind of run out of places to look for stuff. And I immediately was inspired to do not just Andy's bedroom, but his entire house. So for this house, I had one picture of reference to go off of. So a lot of it is just kind of what I thought was going on. There's one photo that is just of the front of the house. It's in very poor lighting, and it has the car outside, it has the garage, and it shows you where the door is. But it obviously doesn't show you the layout of the inside, so you have to think about it from the movie standpoint. And what I found is that there is actually no way to do the inside of this house according to the way that the movie was filmed and lined up with the one picture that I have of the outside of the house. So I kind of can get into some of the reasons why that is, and it has to do a lot with windows. So a lot of the pictures I was using for reference, light would be coming in on one side, and you knew there was a window there, so that meant that that wall had to face the outside of the house. But then the scene would change, and you would go to a different one, and the light would be coming from an opposite side of the room, where it would have been impossible for the light to actually be coming from that side of the house, because before it had been shown as being on the other side of the room. And it's really complicated, and I hope that's kind of making sense, but what I'm getting at is that I had to redesign the layout of this house the way that it works for Sims, and not 100% accurately for the way that it works for the movie, because the movie doesn't make any sense if you actually think about it. So I did download a custom content set of Andy's bedroom. It has, of course, his classic blue wallpaper with the clouds, and came with some toys and some posters, and like I have been doing for all of my builds, and I did this for my other build I recently did of Pallet Town from Pokemon, I will be posting the links for the custom content that I use over on my Tumblr. But other than like the main feature of the house, whatever that is, I try not to use much custom content. So other than Andy's room, I really tried not to use custom content. That being said, I do have a lot of custom content in my game, so I know that sometimes things will slip by, and I don't mean to, but nothing important in this build is custom content other than Andy's room. So if you wanted the house, you could just download the one custom content set, and everything else would be from the different games. I don't own a lot of the stuff packs or game packs. I own probably about a third of what's available. I think I definitely own Cats and Dogs, and that's one that I use frequently. I did end up purchasing toddler stuff and kids stuff for this build because it was appropriate. I do own Movie Hangout and the Halloween set for stuff packs, and then I think I might own Romantic Garden set. And then other than that, I don't think I own anything other than base game, and I own all of the game packs except for the new one. So this is going to be available on the gallery, and obviously at the bottom it tells you all of the packs that I used. I can assume that I ended up using something from every pack that I own, but I don't own everything, so it still might be totally downloadable for you if you are interested and you don't own a ton of the packs. And like I said, I really just tried to stick to not using any, but I know some probably got through. And you're just going to have to bear with me on that because I really don't like the idea of pulling my custom content folder out of the game. I know that that's something that a lot of the other creators do, but I have games that are going in this version of my game, and they use like almost entirely custom content houses, and I'm afraid that it's going to mess it up if I pull out my custom content folder. So I'm not going to do that, but I have realized when doing this build how much custom content I use, because as I was going through, there were certain things that I was looking for, and I'd be looking and I could only find exactly what I wanted in a custom content form, and I'd have to rethink it. So that was a little bit aggravating, but I really tried, and I'm going to try to start doing some builds on my channel that are probably only from some certain base game. I know that a very certain stuff pack is coming out next week that everybody is talking about, and that is my first pet stuff pack, and I'm definitely going to be building some stuff with that. I know that I'm going to be building, I'm not going to give away my exact ideas, but I know I'm going to be building a house of some sort, probably 100% custom content free, and I'm definitely going to be building something else, and I know that will have custom content, but not very much, and I always link everything that I use. So anyway, we are moving on to Molly's room. I only had one picture of reference for Molly's room to use, and it actually isn't Molly's room because the picture I was using is from her being older, and that would mean that she was in the second house, not this house. So couldn't find any actual photos of Molly's room, and what I found to be kind of interesting is that the one or two times that Molly gets shown in the movie, she's a baby in a crib. So obviously this is supposed to be more of a toddler's room, but as I was going through, I just put in whatever I want. It definitely became more of a kid's room. But Molly is shown in the movie as having a crib in Andy's room. So I don't know. And then another scene a little bit while later, he doesn't have the crib in his room. So that worked out for me in one way, and that is because I needed Andy's room to have two doors because that's how it's shown in the pictures, and one of the doors actually leads to Molly's room because I think that makes sense for how that was kind of shown in the movie. But I did end up giving her her own room. I thought that made more sense, and I also thought that it just made sense to make it kind of an older kid's room because obviously you can't have cribs in the game. They don't have any, at least that you can set down without actually having a baby. So I couldn't make her a baby, and as I was just adding more stuff, it felt very much like a kid's room and a lot less like a toddler's room. And I kind of liked it that way anyway, because you really don't see Molly that much. I think that you even see her more in the later movies where she's older. So I kind of just think of her as like a toddler and not so much of a baby anyway. I don't know. There's lots of toys. It's a lot of fun. I like Molly's room a lot. I don't make kids' rooms that much. I think this is probably one of the very first builds I've ever done where I made a kid's room, let alone 2 kids' rooms. And then we are moving on to the bathroom. And for the bathroom, nothing special. I just felt like I wanted to go very 90s, kind of not as modern as a lot of things you would think maybe. For the whole entire house, I tried to go a lot less modern because I just felt like that would have been accurate. So I did go with like that pink tile wall, which to me looks very 90s. I'm not a fan of it, and if I had a house with it in it, I would rip it right out. But I think that that's something that they used to do a lot back in the 90s, was just do weird tile colors on the bathroom walls. So I liked that. And then the other thing that I kind of thought about is that, again, this is a house with a family in it, a single mom, and she probably doesn't have all the time in the world to herself or to clean everything. So not everything is matching. I definitely wanted the entire house to kind of have this look that it had been lived in for a while. So if things don't match, it was almost kind of done on purpose. I felt like if a family lives in a home for a long period of time, especially when you have kids, you kind of stop worrying about what the house looks like because you just got so much to do. So it made sense to me for there to be different wood tones and different paint tones and random items all over the house from different periods of like Andy's mom's life or Andy's childhood or Molly's childhood, just like accumulating over time. And then one of the things that I did have to change really quickly, I realized that Molly's room didn't actually have a door, so I had to go in there and switch everything around so that you could actually get in without having to go through Andy's room, because that would have been quite annoying. For the hallway, I picked that red wallpaper because it's actually shown in the movie to have kind of a hallway with a red wallpaper and a bright white undertone, like brick kind of area at the bottom. And hallways tend to be a really big issue for me. I never really know what to do with them. I would kind of appreciate like a hallway stuff pack, to be honest, because I really just never know what to put in a hallway. I've never lived in a house where a hallway was decorated nicely. I usually always live in houses with very thin, narrow hallways where there wouldn't be a lot of room. I guess for that kind of a hallway, you could have put a seating area, but I really did try to stick to what the movie was showing, and so I didn't want to add anything extra. Just put some basic paintings on the wall and had a plant in the corner, and if you didn't like how bare it is, you could definitely add some of the stuff on your own. One image that I did have was for the living room, and that is from the scene where Woody goes sliding down the rail of the stairs, and Andy catches him, and then Andy runs over to the chair in the living room and does the little spin around. So that is why that gross brown chair is sitting there, not by my choice so much as movie accuracy. And this entire build is really just movie accuracy. That's all I was trying to do. So like I'm going to say again, those curtains probably aren't curtains that I would have picked, but from the image that I had, the living room actually does have some kind of a pink floral curtain, so I went with that. And then I went with just like random items that I felt like would have just built up over time. A bookshelf, a light, you know, some very basic things for a living room. And then again, I had this big empty space over on the right hand side in the front there, and I really wasn't sure what to do with it, so I think you're going to see that I bounced around from different things until I decided to fill it in with a piano. One thing that I am quickly learning in building houses, the biggest lesson that I have learned so far at least, is to scale down the sizes of the house. So both houses that I've made so far, not necessarily Pallet Town, but when I did my Sailor Moon house, I realized how big I made the house and how it's just so much room. And you don't think it's gonna be when you go in and you start putting furniture in, you realize that you literally have so much room, and it wouldn't make sense because people fill their houses up with all sorts of crap. So I really struggled with how much room I left myself in this game. And in the future, I definitely am going to try to not leave that much room. I feel like it's more realistic if you don't. But I just wanted to get the general shape of the house correct. And if you do look at the one image that I have of the outside of Andy's house, it is kind of a big house. It looks like, at least from the outside. So I did go with that size for a reason, but I kind of regretted it halfway in. And for the kitchen, again, very 90s, yellow walls and blue tiled floor. Definitely not a modern touch at all, but the reason I went with that is actually because there was a Toy Story video game that came out, and in the video game, you had to crawl around the kitchen. Let me know down in the comment section if you played this game, because Nate and I were both talking about how much of a classic it was for both of us. We both had it and loved it as kids, and there was a scene where you were Buzz and you had to try and get up on the table and like use a broom, and you could see that the floor was a blue and white tile and the wallpaper was yellow. So I had one image to go off of from the kitchen. You could also see that the counters and the cabinets were kind of this weird blue shade, and so I just tried to do everything the way that I could kind of see it from the picture, added some little kitchen accessories that I thought maybe would be around, and a very 90s lamp, in my opinion, over the top of the dining table. Again, with the dark wood tones, I feel like that's very 90s too. I'm not a huge fan of dark wood tones. If I had to like design a home, I would probably go very modern. There's this house out in this beachy area where I live, and they have this very modern, it kind of looks like a mini skyscraper, and it's all made of glass and natural woods, light tones, and I love it, and it would be actually my dream home. I would love to live in a super modern home. But even just this home, I think that this would be, it has its charms, you know. This is like very much lived in, but I think that it's still kind of cute. I would like to live in it. And for this final room, I am just doing Andy's mom's room. I had no images of reference to go off of for her room. There is never a point that I can remember in the 3 movies that they ever really show her room, like let alone her face really. She's not really shown. So I just went with kind of whatever I wanted to. Tried to stick kind of 90s, but also felt like she would be a little bit more cleaned up, a little bit more modern. She might have a little bit less stuff in her room. So I did make a couple of mistakes in the room. I did accidentally use some custom content that I didn't mean to. That mirror that is over her dresser is custom content, and I can try and find the link for it if somebody would be interested in it, because it's really nice, but I didn't mean to use that. And if you have the stuff pack that includes the round mirror, you could just replace it with that, or any mirror really, because like I said, I didn't mean to use it. What I kind of got annoyed with at the end here is that I was trying to find curtains to go over her windows, and there really are no small curtains for that size window, and it's actually really annoying because there's one, and it comes in like this red shade, and it's very drapey, and it kind of looks like it's supposed to go in a movie theater or a church or something. So I hate all of the curtains for those size windows, and I didn't think that it made sense to not have a curtain there. So I did end up using a custom content blind, but you obviously could just not use that and it would be fine. And we are pretty much done here. I'm adding a carpet, and then we are going to go into the screenshots. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this build. I really enjoyed doing it. I'm going to be doing more things like this on my channel where I build kind of famous houses, maybe Disney houses and cartoon characters' houses and things like that. I've just been enjoying building more recently than Create a Sim, and so you can expect more things like this. And let me know what you think down in the comments section. Is this accurate to your memory of Toy Story? And yeah, what do you think of Andy's bedroom? Do you think that I got it right? I don't know. So let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. All of my social media is going to be linked down in the description box below. You can check me out on everything and anything. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it because it really helps me out. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time that I post. Also, if you enjoyed this video, you should subscribe. I do stuff like this all the time. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you all next time.